I've been sitting here watching TV about the Florida school shooting, and I want to begin by saying it was a tragic thing that happened. My heart goes out to the families and friends and students that had to go through that and are still having to deal with it. I wish I could say stuff like that never happens. But I was watching on TV where they was allowing students to speak out on camera about the incident at rallies, anti-gun rallies. And I understand where they're coming from. Those children, I understand where they're coming from. And it don't surprise me why they feel the way they feel about certain issues because of the way they're taught in our school systems today. Um, I heard some of them talk about how nobody should own an AR-15. I know the guy used AR-15 when he went in there and done that, but I also watched videos that students took while they were in there in the school. And I noticed that in one of the videos, several of the videos, the people the first responders that showed up on the scene were carrying AR-15 and assault style weapons to come to the rescue. So what I guess they're really saying is nobody but police should own AR-15s and assault style weapons, and that is totally crazy. That is totally crazy because our Second Amendment wasn't for hunting. To own and bear arms wasn't for hunting. It was so we could protect ourselves against the government if it ever was to turn on us. That leads me to my next point. People want to blame the guns and take away the guns, the tools that people use to commit these crimes. But I've been watching real close and paying close attention, and I'm going to ask you to use a little bit of common sense. Now, not everybody has common sense, but when they hear from somebody that does have a little common sense, they tend to recognize it. So I pride myself on having common sense. So to y'all that are having trouble using just a little common sense, I want you to put your ears on. I've been in this world for 50 years. And what I've noticed is when all this stuff started back at Columbine, I think, was the first one at school shooting that happened. But what I've noticed was there's something that all these school shootings have in common. It's not the guns that they used because they all used different guns. What they had in common was something that wasn't around when I was going to school, when we didn't have this problem. And that's those drugs that they're putting students on. And I watched the news, and this boy had a history of mental illness and ADHD. That told me right away that when he was in school, he was diagnosed with ADHD and he was put on some kind of drug. And Columbine, the boys that was done that was on those drugs too. And other students that committed the same offenses were on those drugs. When are people going to open up their eyes and realize it's not the guns that are the problem? That it very well could be the drugs that they're putting our children on to go to school that cause depression, send them to school acting like zombies, like they're in a whole different world. Because I'm going to let you in on a little secret. When I married my wife, the wife I'm married to now, her son was on those drugs. He was probably in the fourth or fifth grade, and her son was on those drugs. And I watched him. He would come on the drugs. While he was on the drugs, he would come home with disciplinary problems every day. Every day. His grades, we're talking 4 or 5 F's on his report card while he was on them drugs. I asked my wife, I said, do you trust me? And she said, yes, I do, with all my heart. I said, do you trust me with your son? She said, yes, I do. I said, then we're going to take him off them drugs. And that's exactly what we did. Thank goodness she had enough faith in me to stand behind me and let me take the helm and do what it took to take him off those drugs. I even went as far as take him out of the school and out of the class that he was in at the time because the teacher refused to talk to me about Gage because I was his stepfather. And I told her, I said, ma'am, you can't tell me nothing I don't know about Gage. Because she says, I can't tell you anything about Gage because you're your stepfather. You're not his real biological father. I said, you can't tell me nothing about Gage I don't know. I'm here to tell you how we can work with Gage together and get results. But she didn't want to talk to me, so I done 2 things. I took him out of that class, and I put him in another class, and I took him off those drugs. And I told him, I said, I'm not a unreasonable man, but we're going to use that as a last resort. I'm going to try everything I know to turn this thing around. And if that don't work, then as a last resort, we'll try those drugs. Because they didn't have those drugs when I was going to school. And I would have probably been listed as ADHD back then too. Because they probably didn't want to deal with me, just like they don't want to deal with all these other kids. They just want to calm them down with a drug and pass them on. My stepson went from 4 or 5, I can't remember the exact, 4 or 5 F's on his report card and disciplinary actions every day to no disciplinary actions ever again that year and any other year from the rest of his school. For the rest of his school career, he had no disciplinary action, and he finished off that year with all A's, highest achiever, and merit list. And all I did was take him off those drugs. I sat him down and I had to talk with him. I said, son, they think you need to be on drugs to make it in their system. What do you think? He goes, I don't want to be on drugs. I don't think I need to be on drugs. I said, then we're going to prove them wrong. I said, when you prove them wrong, Gage, we're going to have a Gage Day. What's that? He said. I said, a Gage Day is when we go, when you prove them wrong, we're going to take a whole weekend and do whatever and go wherever Gage wants to go, as long as my billfold allows. That's all I had to do. That's all I did. From that day forward, his grades didn't do this right here. They went straight line up. All A's. All A's. No disciplinary actions without drugs. And with a new teacher that I could deal with and want to communicate with me. So I'm telling you as a parent, and I'm talking to you parents out there, it ain't the gun. What you giving your kids? What you got your kids on? Let's wake up. Because if you solve the real problem, then you don't have to worry about all this trickle down stuff like guns and what they're using in their crime. You don't have to worry about the side effects and all this other stuff. As you get to the root of the problem will fix itself. That's my personal opinion. And that's my personal experience. Take them off the drugs. Deal with it. Handle it without the drugs. And let's see what happens then. That's all I got to say. I love you. God bless you. And I'm sorry for all the hurt and pain that's happened over the years. But common sense tells me when it started and what all they have in common. Have a blessed day.